can't tell you what it means to see that a community has come together for these many years with the idea that people should gather and believe in the Word, their own words, the words of others, the words of people who have published and taken a chance that they hope you would appreciate what they had to say, and maybe even become some of what they say that wishes humanity well. It's the diversity, from my point of view, that this conference has come to be, bringing so many people from so many backgrounds to consider what words mean. They fall into sentences. Some have heard them beautifully, whispered as "I love you." Others have heard them critically as, "No one should tell you this, but I think," your best friends suddenly need to tell you. And well, they should, because literature is our best friend. The best work tells us something about ourselves, opens us to understand that we are not alone, and makes us wonder, if we have meaning in our life, why is it sometimes we don't feel that way? And then we open a book, we read a poem, we hear a phrase, and suddenly we belong again. We come back to a place that centers us, however momentarily, just reminds us to keep going. Lately, I've been on these new pills. When you're 77, you go through a range of, maybe this will help you out, maybe this will let you sleep, maybe this will, you have that routine. And some of the pills were wonderful. The problem is, when I told my doctor how wonderful they were, he cut the dosage in half and started withdrawing me away from them. So I always tell him, "Oh, they weren't too bad." And then I can't help it, I skip. And he goes, "Right, half the dosage." So in a sense, you who write, you who read the work of writers, you who publish, you who distribute, I can't tell you what it means to a chain of humanity, that books, magazines, articles, letters to the editor matter. I remember when I was first published, I actually had the book given to me in the afternoon, and I thought I would be very sophisticated about it, and I left it on the kitchen. Oh, it's just a book. And then when I went to bed at night, I thought, just a book. I went downstairs, I picked up the book, took it to bed with me, put it on the pillow, and slept with it. I used to do that with people I wanted to be with. The book is still alive. At 77, nobody wants to do anything but sleep. At least that's where I am. Happy to be tired enough to know that things have gone well, and now and then alert enough to know that a community like yourself, like the people who have run this wonderful conference, have said to us, "Do you know there are people who matter and they make you matter?" It has to do with books, it has to do with reading, it has to do with reading from people and young people you've never heard of, and someone you should know about because they wrote something about you. I think what it is what's most amazing, and I love what Sonic Zubure said, that in The Little Prince, the little prince said to the lost pilot, "Well, what is essential is often invisible." I love that, because around you I see the invisible. You have read some books, they have captured your heart, they have made you think, they have dared you to even come here on a rainy day this early and say, "Wow, it's breakfast, but there are books, there are writers, there are ideas, there are feelings, there are thoughts, there are memories of that first illustrated book that broke my heart when I was a child." And there were those who read to me, and those who taught me how to read, and there is my family members, there are my friends. We share the word. and the word is essential. I sometimes think when I can see a gathering like this, it's really a glimpse of heaven. And why is it heaven? Because we're all sinners and we're still in a good place. You know what you did wrong. And we're undeserving and deserving of the best. Because that's what writers, publishers, people who are booksellers, people who say, read this, the librarian who took you in hand, the teacher who said, I'm going to read a little story if you're good, and you're good, and it's read. There's a chain of humanity that links us. It's a human experience. So many of the chains in humanity are used to whip, to break, to kill, to injure. You just have to read the papers and you just go, what is wrong with this? And of course the newspapers sell the bad news, but the bad news is there, and there are terrible places where books are being burned and torn and censored and distorted. Writers are being tormented and tortured and murdered. In honor of all of you who are brave enough to pick any damn book you want to read, and you will read it, come what may, you matter. And the privilege of writers who are writing alone by themselves, hoping that somebody will accept it, will publish it, will have you read it. Well, it's an amazing act. It's an act of faith that our words can matter, and that when you read them, you make them matter. So I think all of us here, we're like lions and lambs, but we're readers, we're browsers, we're dabblers, we're writers, we're casual writers, we're journal writers. Nobody will read us, but there we are, writing. I think that's as important as being published, because when you keep a journal, when you write something that you feel you need to express, you are a writer. Don't even hesitate to dishonor that word just because you aren't published or you may not care to be published. You write. That honors everybody who writes. And if you want to share it one day, fine. If not, your great-great-grandson will open that dark little cabinet in the back of your, you know where you hide it, and you'll be published and you'll be as famous as D. Lawrence, or is it D.H. Lawrence? Censored and loved. Wouldn't that be great? At any rate, the point I want to make is when people came together to start the Ontario Writers' Conference, I don't think they realized that they had done something incredibly wonderful and usually impossible. Look around you. Can you imagine the hours of work and planning, emailing, and the begging of sponsors, and the sponsors who gladly came, and the publishers, and the people who respect writers and writing and respect their own spirit shows up. Nothing is simple. The very fact, though, that you came up is simple indeed. There's hope for the world when a group of people can get together in peace, read all they want, learn and think and be challenged by those who are so different from them, straight or gay, bi or still wondering. At 77, you don't wonder anymore, by the way, it doesn't matter. But for those of you who feel it matters and you're 78 and 90, I think I might think we do matter. So I want to thank the conference here. It's 5th year, it's 10th year, really. And years before that, when they were thinking and having their private meetings together. What an empire, what a chain of invisible contact of what was valuable and what is essential in this room. The Chinese believe that there are ghosts everywhere, and you don't have to believe in them. They don't care. And whether you don't believe them or not, they come to you. Those that you love that are gone, you just think of them, they're there. Do something wrong or strange or odd, and there's that teacher that hated to love you and loved you to bits so that you were disciplined appropriately and you finish that reading, and you finish that paper, that essay. Whatever it was that brought you here, family members, babysitters who read to you, you who read to others, you are so important. You give to others what is essential, the invisible. The idea that stories connect us all, that the good and the best stories enlarge our universe, and that when you yourself are thinking of writing, too shy probably to say so, or at any rate, you keep a diary of your stories. You're a writer. Readers are writers almost automatically, because when they read enough, whether they want to or not, they imagine a life episode as an episode in a chapter of their life. And what interesting chapters you have. I wish you would honestly write them, because the world needs more hot bits. Nothing boring, thank you. Give us the best you got and let us roar with the happiness that you are human too. It's also a chance, when you consider writing and reading and getting together like this, to look around and say to yourself, you know what? These people have secrets too, and I have mine. And we're allowed to read other people's secrets, identify with them, and still respect each other, in the sense that we respect you have the right to your life, and you have the right, and we have the right to respect each other. So you're imperfect. Sometimes I stand here and I'm afraid some people think I'm not a bad guy, I'm quite nice and all that. And they haven't been an enemy, nor have they been a target of my anger, nor have they seen how stupid I can be when I misunderstand someone. But then I think, who cares? I'm here, you're here, and we're quite likable. And believe it or not, when you feel injured or have been injured, go to a book. There the injury will be exposed and explored, and you will come to some understanding that you are not alone. Easy to know that when the world goes well, you don't need a book. You don't need another thought. But when it goes badly, when you feel alone, a single book, a poem, a phrase can bring you back to the center of your humanity. I have been dealing with mortality lately because, as I'm 77, people 5 and 10 years younger and older than myself are meeting their end or coming to some conclusions about certain kinds of things that must happen when the body ages. And most of us are laughing because, when you talk about what's going wrong and why you have to go to the bathroom this many times and all that, and before you know it, you're laughing yourself stupid because you go, oh, Christ, that's awful being old. And I said, it's not being old, it's aging. And then I think, oh, it's not that good either. And then I think, but it's wonderful. We are still here. You are here. Blessed on this day to be with people who are like you and who believe that the word matters. I want to thank the conference people, those who had in the very beginning to get us together. The history is so important. And it is important because you've made this moment in my heart, in the hearts of so many who are not here, but who have been here, who will now tell others what it might have been like, to say to them, I discovered something. There are people like myself. I'm not alone. I also discovered that when I'm bored, there are other people that are bored, but we come out of it. Something snaps us awake. We have to remember we're still alive, and the word makes us live. Thank you for sharing so much with me. You are wonderful. You are my friends. You are the heart of all that is invisible, that is essential. Thank you, thank you,